ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 16 of the Locker Room Live podcast. So excited to be here. I'm one of your hosts, Frank. I'm here with my boy, Logan. Another banger of an interview we have this episode. What's going on in life, buddy?
We're buzzing. I mean, I can't believe it's already episode 16. We're humming through these things, and things are busy on my end with school. It's like the midway point of like the first semester right now. And then I'm going to Walmart headquarters this next week to pitch, hopefully get our product on Walmart shelves. It's pretty crazy trying to get everything organized, trying to not think about it too much, just go in there calm and ready for it. But that's my next week. I'm there from Monday to Thursday. It'll be fun.
But I got some special news. I didn't even tell you before we came on. There's a new birth to add to the Locker Room Life family. Jay Diebel, our boy, just gave birth to their lovely little daughter this morning. He texted me this morning, sent me a photo of him at the hospital. So we cannot be any more through the moon for our boy Jay. He was on some of the early interviews, so he definitely is a little bit more behind the scenes of the Locker Room Life podcast, but he's our boy. He's part of the family, and we just want to congratulate him and his wife, Carrie, on the birth of their second daughter. So that came in super early. But life in Arizona, buddy, melting still, just still melting. But there is signs along the horizon that things are going to start to cool down here a little bit. So we're going into the 90s now. So it's not too bad, not too shabby, but just been really busy the past couple of weeks. You know, we talk almost every day. Just been a whirlwind, all of positive things. Everything going on with Buddy Hockey Club. We have a new collection that's going to be dropping as well. I know you're busy with Best Damn Tape. And of course, everything we got going on with this amazing podcast that we were building. So blessed with everything that's been going on. And everybody wanted more LRL. And Logan, we are going to be giving it to them. We are going to be dropping episodes every week now. We were doing bi-weekly, but because of the amazing people that are coming on the podcast and us just really wanted to making sure that these stories are getting out there. We're continuously building our community and really just having an amazing diversity of the amazing people in hockey. We are going to be dropping episodes simultaneously weekly. And then from there, we're just going to keep talking to amazing people to build our directory of people that we can just continuously share. So Logan, what do you think about that?
Obviously, like you said, we've been, outside of everything else that we're doing with the companies and, real life, the podcast is really exploding, and we couldn't be more grateful for it. It's awesome. And, a big thanks again to the USHL for allowing us to explode our platform and really, give value to us, I think, as human beings and as interviewers. I know we're definitely biased, but we like to bring out the story and bring out the person behind the player or person behind the entrepreneur or person behind the coach. And that's where we're going to be able to differentiate ourselves. And people are starting to see that. And we're so grateful for every single one of you guys who have been listening since day one, been listening since last episode. It doesn't matter. We really appreciate everyone. And we're so excited. Just means we're busy and we have to keep getting out these awesome interviews from these awesome people.
Yeah. And before we move on, we're super humbled. I know we say it all the time. You guys are tired of us saying it, but we are very humbled in regards to everybody that see the mission and the value of our mission with this platform. We can't wait to just grow it even more because it will just make sure that everyone knows that this is being done for a mission and being able to grow the hockey community, something that we value that we're a part of, and just being able to have it on all levels, that connection point with a lot of people, a lot of players on different levels to just continuously grow the community. And we're truly blessed on everybody that has come on and want to tell their story, but also the people that have said that it's something that they love and value our mission. And that to me is the thing that means the most. So thank you again, everybody. We will never stop thanking and being super blessed about everything that we've done thus far.
Yeah, into our amazing segments that we love to do in the pre-show. Best Damn Breakdown, sponsored by Best Damn Tape. We're really excited. You can talk to this one more than I can, but Penn State, Arizona State, Gavin McKenna's first game, highly touted, probably the game that everyone was watching Friday and Saturday. So awesome. Better was that 4 points in 2 games for McKenna off the rip. So it's pretty impressive. And Frank was there really soaking it all in. So I'd love to hear about it.
The building was electric as advertised. I feel like college hockey, and especially Arizona, has just been such an amazing addition to the community because we lost the Coyotes. So from a overall fans perspective, it is the best ticket in town. Obviously, the added level of having Gavin McKenna on his first college hockey game in the building Friday night, it was absolutely ballistic. Everybody who's anybody in the hockey community was there. NHL Network covered it. I think they picked it up a little bit late, but they knew that they needed to be televising this series. And what can I say? I will tell you, the kid has no shake in his game. Will he adjust to the college game? Of course he will. First game, I think ASU even, first game of the season, everybody kind of had some jitters, some things to work out. But McKenna out there midway through the first period gets a giveaway in the zone, gives a silky smooth pass to Aiden Fink and buries. Let me tell you, this line with him and Aiden Fink this year is going to be insane. College hockey statistically, these guys are going to rip it, but I just know that as he gets more games under his belt, acclimates to this amazing college game, that the tone has been elevated 10 times. He is going to just continuously grow his game. Going to be exciting to see him at season end, just the adjustments and the growth as a player that he's made. But it was as advertised. I told you that. Everybody asks me about it, and I just said as advertised. Silky smooth skater. Hockey sense, you can tell, is through the roof, and no shake in his game when he gets the puck on a stick. He knows exactly what he's going to do when he gets the puck. Those are the differentiating factors between good players and great players. So it was great to see from my own eyes, and definitely was a great experience.
Yeah, don't let Frank, Jock Sniff and Gavin McKenna overshadow everyone else that was amazing on Penn State. One of my good buddies, Matthew DeMarsico, hat trick first game. Just a good squad. We're actually soon going to be interviewing someone from the Penn State squad, along hopefully with some Arizona State guys. Definitely a little partial to the ASU boys since BDT's there. But we're back in full swing. It really is. It's now, from when we're recording this, it's only 2 days out from NHL puck drop. No more preseason. NHL puck drop. Everyone's going. I'm really, really pumped. I think this year's got something special. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's me being back so involved with the game, but there's something there this year, and I really think it's going to be awesome. And along with all the prospects coming in, and the whole landscape kind of changing, it's going to be exciting to see everyone getting called up, getting pulled down, these different situations. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, I mean, the state of the game of hockey right now, it's such an exciting time to be part of this game. We're so blessed because we're heavily involved on the level that we are, and growing into the NHL side of it. The game is in a great place. The game of hockey is in a great place. So just being able to see the focus on these players, the personalities, and just being able to focus on this game that we love so much, finally getting its light in the major sports world. So I can't wait. It's going to be an amazing season. I hate to say it. There was an injury to the defending champs. It's a little bit of a setback. Barkov got injured in training, actually, before they started their preseason games. Alexander Barkov, one of the greatest Florida Panthers players, but I think he's just top 10 in the league, human, and also just in regards to what he's done on the ice as well. So big loss for the Panthers. But again, the champs are the champs, man. Don't ever undermine the champs. So excited to see everybody get going.
You brought a great point that parlays into this next point. Great. Really being able to see these personalities and get that attention from, big media platforms. And I've been nose deep in it all weekend, but the Face Off Behind the Ice show on Amazon Prime, absolutely outstanding, unbelievable. I was texting Frank when I watched the first episode, and I was just like, man, like I could cry. It was pretty awesome. The Chuck brothers are focus. Werenski is a focus. A few other guys as well. Crosby. Yes, Crosby. It really humanizes these players more than anything. Like any kid looking at Sidney Crosby and seeing everything just sees how amazing he is on the ice. And he's like, Jesus to these kids. But, it comes down to you see him as a viral clip, but you see him in his weight room, his personal weight room with the Stanley Cup champions from every single past year, the captain hung up in his weight room, and he has a blank one for the season that he's about to go into. And it's just like, you see that he's not bulletproof at the end of the day. And it's, you get to see his family, you get to see him outside of the rink. And it's awesome, especially for all those superstars.
Yeah. And, I'm a sucker for a good documentary to show the hard work that these amazing players to reach this goal that a very small 0.01% of players actually get to reach, but let alone become superstar status. So being able to peek behind the curtain a little bit to know a couple things, right, Logan? They're people just like us. There's a reason why they're in that spot that they are, and it's because of their hard work, determination that they put in every single day, and the sacrifice. Anytime anybody gets to see, a little peek in regards to their life, it's just an amazing thing. And it just makes you fall in love with the game so much more because, like you said, it humanizes everything on every level. I think we live in a society, especially now in the social media age, we just put everything so much on a pedestal where unattainability becomes kind of a word that bounces around in people's heads. But when you watch something like that, it shows they have families, they came from somewhere, they have a journey. And that's something that we gravitate towards on our platform as well, because it's something that we're trying to do going forward as well. Just being able to get with players and show their full life cycle of this amazing journey that they go through.
This last quick one in the best damn breakdown. Some jersey reveals. I know we talked about it a little bit briefly. There's been a few around the league, but we talked about it. Detroit's. Oh my goodness gracious. Detroit's uni that they just dropped is absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely fell in love with it. And I know it's your favorite one that they just dropped too, right?
Yeah. Not only the jersey, but the kit. They got the brown gloves with the vintage twigs. So they did a lot of amazing content with P. Kane, Larkin, just out there in the kits, hockey in full swing, man. Just being able to see fun things that everybody's doing on all levels to make the game fun, more fan interactive, and again, more socially acceptable in regards to getting hockey out there in the mainstream. So I love it.
Yeah.
And now the next segment, Bud, Are You Serious? Sponsored by Buddy Hockey Club. So I came across this subject because it's absolutely amazing. Yes, we live in an age of, there's a lot of different tactics that people are using physically to get themselves back into fighting shape or game shape. But Logan came across this. China came out with this bone glue.
I saw it.
Don't know if it's a disclaimer, guys. I don't know if the stuff is regulated, so please don't sue me online for this, but bone glue that apparently you inject in and it will literally fuse the muscles back together, which I guess the byproduct of that is you're going to be back out there pretty quickly. So healing time gets cut down astronomically, but more importantly, I believe that it isolates the healing of the muscles in that area where the trauma happened. But again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to say that this stuff, there's no free ads in regards to this stuff getting out to the market. So I'm just speaking the news in regards to what I saw. I think it's amazing. We hear it all the time on a lot of different developments with the human body and things that they're finding out are actually acceptable for us to help the healing process. So again, bone glue.
Frankie, you said all the great stuff, but I just want to preface to everyone. So when we do these things, we like to keep it organized for you. We draft up outlines and have this drafted out for you guys. And I look at the outline today and it says China bone glue. And I'm like, what is this guy talking about today on this segment? I was like, all right, sounds good. But I do know, and I saw it. It's a little scary. It's definitely a little super soldier-esque, but hey, it's where our world is now.
Hey, cyborg soldiers. You see these amazing kids that are playing now. I'm like, they're built like absolute tanks. So again, adding a little bit of bone glue, we're all good. But another subject, we grazed over it on the last episode, but I got to bring it up again because it has come to light. Bram Sward, I think it's how you say it, Sward. This was the guy that played 60 pro games, and now because of the new rulings, NIL, all the situations that are going with the college ruling, went to Quinnipiac, playing for Quinnipiac currently, and he scored his first collegiate goal on Friday. So again, the Wild Wild West, it's happening in college hockey. Its skill level is going to be amped up, and to see it in motion, it's pretty crazy.
This segment today it's unbelievable stuff. I agree, Bud. Are you serious? Like, I don't know where to even stand on that category with that. It's very interesting. It's a professional guy who played against, NHLers right now, signed on a $220,000 contract probably, and now coming back to NCAA. So it's very interesting. As Frank just said, the wild, wild West.
One last note on this. These players can only take advantage of the rules of how they pertain. So it's kind of like that saying in golf, right? Like play it where it lands. And I feel like if you can play and the rules apply, why not? So it's just a culmination of dominoes that are falling on the college hockey CHL level. And we always talk about it because we love it. And Logan and I trade back information on it every time we see everything. So we pick and choose the ones that we actually want to, sit down and really talk to you guys about. So this is one I had to bring up because I brought it up before and I'm just like, here he is. Going into the interview we have this week, Krista Kerth. I can't say enough. She's a professional. She's an entrepreneur. Many, many years on the brand development level. She founded a company called Dan Brands. And then on top of that, she founded LORA Athletes. She's a certified PWHL agent. But more importantly, she handles the representation of the players on the contractual level, but also the brand development level. Why that is so crucial is because each one of these athletes, mainstream athletes and professional athletes, have their own brands and are their own brands. And being able to have a figure in their lives that's a true mentor, leader, that's being able to represent them in both those lights, I can't say enough. We're so excited for you guys to hear this interview because she's so knowledgeable. She is just a true veteran in the brand marketing world and also just the hockey world. So we can't wait for you guys to dive into this one.
I had the pleasure of connecting with Krista before getting her onto the podcast. She's amazing. She has such a powerful story, I think, for all of our athletes, just like Patrick Bedell as well, really treats them like family as an extension of her. And it's awesome. I can't recommend her enough on any situations of his brand development. She's proven so many different things, now becoming an agent, and she talks about it in there. Her whole experiences with this. And it's so extremely knowledgeable and extremely powerful as well. Just coming from, where she come from, a small town, and doing these awesome things that she's doing now is amazing. So we are very, very excited for you guys to hear this one.
And more importantly, the humility. We've been so blessed with these amazing, humble humans more than anything. Her relationships with NHL players, the list is longer than we can even, say, but she's so humble, and just being able to share her knowledge for the next generation, as that is our main mission, just some knowledge for the next generation to take away and give them incentive to continuously build on their career, have a potential amazing career path. And can't thank Krista enough.
And without further ado, we hope you enjoy episode 16 of the Locker Room Life podcast. Krista Kerth.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of the Locker Room Life podcast. Today, we are really honored having Krista Kerth on the Locker Room Life podcast. She's an entrepreneur, an agent, and a branding specialist. So, Krista, thanks for taking time and joining the Locker Room Life.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So awesome. We start off all of our interviews the same way, the journey. I mean, we'll go into all the amazing companies and organizations that you've created, but we just love to hear the journey. How did you get to this point, all the way from where you were born? It's funny because we were talking about that before we got on air, to kind of where you are today.
It definitely hasn't been a straight line. It's so interesting. I was meeting with a young woman today who's pursuing being an agent, and she's going into a sports business program over in the UK. And that didn't exist when I was in school. There were no sports business programs. So this was not a path that I saw for myself or saw myself going down. I'm from a really small town in Saskatchewan, a hockey town of 800 people. One of my closest friends happened to make it to the NHL and played there for, I think, about 12 to 15 years, something like that. Of course, there's a sign honoring him when you drive into town. Lived in a rink growing up. My brother played hockey, but this was just not a place that I saw myself when I was a kid. And I felt like I couldn't see beyond the borders of the town that I grew up in because it was so small and so limited. I studied marketing in school and sort of went down that path. So I worked for a number of large advertising agencies, worked for a number of brands across Canada. People really brought me in to build brands and then build up marketing teams. And so I had the fortunate privilege of doing that throughout my career. I found myself working for a law firm during COVID time, and they kept talking about this hockey agent, and they were going to invest in his business. He was taking on investors. He was a solo at the time, one of the biggest names in the NHL in terms of agents. And so when that deal went through, they brought me in to build the brand for that sports agency. And that's kind of how I found myself in the world of hockey. That was in 2020. And we recognized an opportunity to build personal brands for these athletes and help them generate off-ice revenue and pursue all of those things that they wanted to do away from the game. So that was my role there. And I got to work with some incredible people. Marian Hossa was retiring at the time that I started there. So I got to do all of his retirement activities and events with the Chicago Blackhawks. I work with Dominic Hasek, Zach Hyman, Mark Giordano, Andrew Mangiapane, the list goes on. So that's sort of where I started. And through that process, met Josh Dunn. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Dunn family hockey dynasty in the United States, but I met Josh Dunn. He was one of our clients. And his girlfriend is Ella Shelton, and she's one of the top defenders women's hockey in the world. And this is about a year and a half or so before the Professional Women's Hockey League formulated. And so we started working on Ella's brand. That was something that she was really interested in doing away from the ice. And when the PWHL started to formulate, they were talking about doing a draft and stuff like that. And so my instant reaction was, well, I'm going to introduce you to Josh's agent, Todd. He's one of the best in the business. Be great for you guys to work together. I'll still manage your branding. And she thought that was great. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from a number I didn't know, let it go to voicemail. And when I listened to the voicemail, it was the GM of the New York Sirens. And he said, Krista, I think you know I'm calling you. And in my head, I'm like, I have no idea why you're calling me. So I phoned him back, quickly realized that he was calling on behalf of interest in Ella. And then I put the pieces together that Ella had declared for the draft and indicated me as her agent. And that's how I became a hockey agent. And her and I have talked about this a lot since then. I owe a lot to her, of her believing in me and wanting me to represent her in that way. And when I called him back, I realized I had two decisions I could make. I could tell him, like, Ella's obviously made a mistake. I'm not an agent. I don't know how to be an agent. Or I could take everything that I've learned over the last 3 years from working with some really incredible hockey agents and really go out there and represent Ella. And that's what I chose to do. I talked to all the rest of the GMs that were representing their teams at the time. I thought about Josh's sister, Jinsey, so reached out to her to see if she needed support. And I ended up having 3 clients in that inaugural season of the PWHL.
That's an amazing journey and so many pivot points that just happened at light speed. So along that journey, obstacles, we really like to hone in, especially with every journey. A lot of people see the end results, but what was an obstacle that you dealt with through that process in pivoting from the brand development side into being an agent?
I think for me, and I still do the brand development. So I've sort of gone out on my own and created a company called Dan Brands under that. So I still work with a lot of NHL players and NHL alumni on that side of things. Unfortunately, women's hockey, being an agent in women's hockey does not provide enough revenue for us to be able to do this exclusively. I know one day it will, and I feel really confident in that. But an obstacle for me has been the question of me not actually playing hockey. I didn't play hockey growing up, even though I grew up in a hockey town and spent a lot of time in the rink growing up. But girls didn't play hockey when I was growing up. That wasn't an option or an opportunity in my town or really overall. So ringette was the sport that girls played where I come from. And that wasn't something I was interested in. So that's always a question that I get often. Well, you didn't play hockey. Do you know anything about hockey? But I know a lot about hockey. I've learned a lot about hockey over the years. And really the biggest thing for me in being an agent for these women is serving them. And I would say that I don't do things in a traditional way that agents do. I've taken a lot of lessons that I've learned from the agents that I've collaborated with and still do to this day from the past several years. But I serve these women in the way that they deserve to be served and treated and offer them all the opportunities that I know that they desire. So I've sort of taken being an agent and taken all the great things that I've learned, but really how I do it is I take the lead of these women. So I'm not a traditional agent. And yes, I don't have a hockey background, but I've gone from 3 clients to 21. So I feel like whatever we're doing at LORA Athletes is really landing with these women. And I'm just here to serve.
That's
awesome.
And your story is just so awesome. But something we also really talk about throughout the time we've been doing this, people that have been in our life and brought us through the steps and through the way of, life and business and your career.
Lots of different mentors in my life. I think one of my biggest mentors is my dad. My dad, growing up in a small town, owned his own business. And so he was always in service of others and really created that sense of community in this small center. His legacy still remains there to this day. Unfortunately, at the current present, he suffers from dementia at a really, really young age, early onset, and it's taken his speech away from him. But his legacy still remains. And so his name is Dan. That's why I created my business called Dan Brands, just to honor him and everything that he taught me, all those core values and the authenticity that he lived from his entire life. So he's always been a really incredible mentor for me. And another person that comes to mind is an NHL PACE certified agent named Todd Reynolds. I met Todd Reynolds. He joined the agency that I was with called Raise Sports. And what I loved about Todd was his philosophy around authenticity and treating the relationships that you have from your heart and making sure that anything that you go into, you're not doing it from a place of trying to get something from somebody else, but rather trying to give. And so that's kind of the philosophy that I've always go into every relationship with is what am I giving and what impact am I leaving, not what I've come here to take from somebody else. And so it's not about the money. It's not about success as it is traditionally we think of it in terms of, am I wealthy? Am I abundant? But it's what I'm giving to other people and how I can serve them. And I really learned a lot from time.
Reading into Dan Brands as well, what I really admire is the philosophy behind it in regards to, especially in the ever-changing landscape that we live in now with NIL and just the growth over the years from a marketing and branding standpoint. You have a really strong philosophy on every athlete is their own brand and just being able to help them build that brand. So, and I've read this about you as well, is to prepare them for life after the sport. The sport is only a small window of time. So maybe speak a little bit on that theory of Dan Brands and how that kind of spurred the beginning of it.
Great question. That is my philosophy. I think with these athletes, while I think everybody would love to be able to play hockey until they're 80, or maybe they wouldn't, I'm not sure, but we would love to be athletes and be in that spotlight forever. It is really a small window of time in our lives. So a lot of the things that we talk about with our athletes is, how can we prepare you for retirement? And what does that look like? I saw this happen a lot on the NHL side, that guys had these really amazing, incredible careers where they were really successful. And then it comes to the end and you haven't prepared yourself for that. And so what does that look like? And I've seen everything from anxiety to depression to substance abuse to addiction to all kinds of things, because they didn't set themselves up for what that next chapter looked like. A lot of guys will say to me, I don't really know how to be at home with my family, even though that's something I really want to do and I want to be a part of. I've never been a part of that. So I don't really know how to be a part of that. And so when we engage in the personal branding work, it's often we talk about how we're setting ourselves up for the future, so that when you do retire from the sport, you have that legacy already established and you've taken that time from when you were a star and you've led that into your future. What I love about the women in particular is we really get to see their personalities shine. And this is something I talk a lot about in the women's game. I do wish that they could remove the cages so that people could really see the life and emotion and expression behind them. But it's something that I've never seen in the NHL. I never see guys laugh on the ice. I never see them joke. I never see them celebrate and smile the way that the women do. But we see that so freely in the game of women's hockey. They have a big moment and they're celebrating together and they're laughing and they're cracking jokes. I love that they've been able to bring those personalities to life. And we do that through personal branding work that we engage in.
I believe that in life as well, it's all about timing, right? And just in your story, with the amazing timing of the emergence of the PWHL and you being able to take everything amazing that you built with Dan Brands and kind of pivot into the origination of LORA Athletics, maybe talk about when you created that and the full service. You are a full service agency, which is amazing. So creating that really amazing family atmosphere is something that you're really pushing on the brand level, and maybe talk a little bit about that, your mindset behind creating it.
Yeah, the mindset behind creating it is creating that family environment and that family atmosphere. I don't think it's enough in today's day and age to be an agent and just negotiate a contract. I think that deep connection needs to be there. I often talk to women when I have those initial conversations. I'll say, definitely go out and talk to other agents. Here's this person that I know of is doing this. You need to have a good feel for who you're working with, because it's almost like a parent-child relationship. You have to have that person that you really, really trust. And so bringing that all together, something that we really do at LORA Athletes is advocate for these women. And we don't sit back and idly wait for opportunities to come in. We go out and pursue those opportunities. And through the personal branding process, we uncover what's really important to these women. We do the same thing on the men's side as well. What do you want to focus on? In your spare time, what do you really want to do? What's important to you? One of the NHL players that I'm working with right now, one of the things that's important to him is mental health advocacy and being an inspiration for young people, not necessarily through coaching them or being an advisor to them, but literally just being somebody there that they can call upon when they need advice or want to talk to an adult or want to have experiences from somebody who's been there already. So we're helping and supporting him in creating that. And that's what's important to him. Whereas other people, it's, wanting to align themselves with certain brands. rather than idly sitting back and waiting for that to come to life. We'll go and actually pursue those relationships for them.
That's awesome. My next question was, how important is it that having the right partnerships for an athlete, and not just about, I know you make a lot of opinions about not just being about the money, but it's about something that they're truly passionate with and that they align with, and kind of speak on the importance of that when you're, searching for those partnerships for players.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think it's everything in the partnership. There are people out there that I know are doing this for money, and at the end of the day, we do everything for money. We have bills to pay, we have mortgages, we have families, we have people to support. But I think at the root of it, for me, it's about impact and those deep relationships. And what you have to realize about having an agent is when you have an agent, it's somebody that's going out there and having conversations on your behalf. So when you think about the word representation, it's more than just somebody negotiating numbers for you. It's somebody who's literally embodying you, if I can use that term. So when I'm going out there and speaking on behalf of a client, I need to represent truly who they are. And if that alignment isn't there, you can be certain that that person is going out and having the wrong conversations on your behalf. So what I've done is I've created my own personal brand as well. So I've identified what my core values are, which again, going back to my mentor, learning from my dad and the way that I grew up. But knowing those core values, I'm really aligned to them. And I've attracted those same type of clients into my world. If I meet somebody who's a prospect and I see a misalignment in those values, we may not choose to work together because I think there's going to be a misalignment and I might not represent them in the way that they want and vice versa. I look at the group of clients that I do have, there's such an alignment in values there. And it's because I'm rooted in my own authenticity and my own core values. So that's an important piece of it as well. But what we like to bring to life here is really making sure that we represent really truly who people are and not just who they are as athletes.
On the level of sports agents, I know that you've been embedded in that world for a while. What are some changes that you've seen in that world, just in the time that you've been involved in it?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I've seen, and it was interesting when we created the brand for the NHL agency that I was with, we actually brought a couple of players into those conversations to really understand what's missing for you. And they weren't clients of our agency. They were just guys that we knew that we wanted to bring in to get their opinion on what they thought was missing in the world of agents. It's just not enough today to be able to negotiate a contract. It's not enough to just be a lawyer and look at the fine print details and cross the T's and dot the I's. I've talked with so many NHL guys that had their agent really sat down and strategized with them on what their future could look like, they would have made very different decisions in their playing career, having taken one contract over another. And so just chasing the dollars today isn't enough. We have to be looking out for these people as human beings. And I'll always go back to that. The money doesn't matter. When you are following your authenticity, you're always going to find success. So we might not take the contract today that has the most dollar signs behind it, but we might take the contract today where you're living in a market where you're truly finding joy, or you're surrounded by the people who are important to you. There's more to life than just the dollar signs. And when we follow that, that's where the success tends to come with it.
You sound so much like my agent when I was a young kid. We actually had him on not too long ago, Patty Bedell. He just really emphasized that kind of parent-kid relationship that is there. It's more than just negotiating a contract 1,000 times over. And I said some awesome stories just about how he's literally the older brother I never had. He went out and spoke on my behalf and made everything happen. And I just want to ask to you, how important is that relationship with your client and really guiding them, really developing what's next for their life, but guiding them through this life and taking them by their hand and being like, I'm going to go on this journey with you?
Yeah, it's so interesting because growing up, I mean, we rely on our parents for everything, right? They give us advice. If they tell us something's bad, we believe it. If they tell us something's good, we believe it. They instill our values. And then we get to a point in our lives where we have to start making decisions on our own. Sports is a hard world to navigate. It's hard to trust what information is true and correct, or even where to get that information. And what I love in some of the relationships that I have with my clients is very infrequently, I will be meeting with parents. In fact, in a lot of cases, I never meet their parents. I love that their parents have allowed these women to take this on themselves and really build this relationship on their own. And now what I find happening is they're coming to me first before going to their dad or their mom to get that advice. And you'll often hear parents say, well, my kids don't listen to me anyway, right? And so they want to have somebody in their lives that they can trust, that they can be the first person that they go to with anything. And so I have my clients coming to me with things that are not even relevant to the game or their brand. Maybe it's just personal life advice. What do I do in this situation? Or, I'm finding myself struggling with this. How do I deal with that? And that's where I really get a lot of pride and honor and gratitude in servicing these women, that I can be that type of support for them.
You've been in the branding and in the marketing side of the business for a long time. With the new emergence of the NIL, what are the biggest changes that you're seeing in just the overall landscape? I think awareness is one of them, but also just maybe speak on the development with those athletes on knowing the value of NIL and, more importantly, making those correct business decisions for themselves.
I think a lot of us don't realize that we all have personal brands. Each one of us has a personal brand. I've talked a lot about those core values, but it's more than that. It's understanding what's your purpose and what do you want the tone of voice of your brand to be like, so that when people interact with you, that consistency is there. But I think something that a lot of athletes don't realize is how much value a personal brand can add to you in the sport that you play. So, as an example, I have a client in the PWHL who brings a lot of that off ice value with her. And a team was considering re signing her because of that value she brings off the ice and how it engages in the community and what it brings to the fan base in that market. And that was almost a bigger consideration than what she actually brings on the ice. So that would be the biggest thing for me in NIL. Like, yes, the generating the revenue is great. Like the fact that you can build a business for yourself while you're in college or even before that is incredible. And again, that's something that'll extend us well past our careers in sport. So we can be looking to the future and life after hockey. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is the value that it can actually add to you as an athlete in the sport that you play. And GMs and teams are actually going to look at that as a big value.
It's so cool to hear that and hear the evolution of that from behind the scenes from you, especially. And, on the topic of the PWHL and everything happening there, it's crazy. It's awesome to see the expansion already and the success. And I'd love for you just to talk about, women's hockey and where you think it's going to go in these next few years.
Women's hockey has obviously completely transformed in the last couple of years. I think one of the things that all of us thought going into this, or we weren't sure about, was going to be what the product looked like on the ice. And I think it blew everyone's mind what these women brought on the ice and to the table. We've seen an increase in strength, in competitive nature, and fire, and physicality. And what we're seeing is really something that's very entertaining to fans of hockey. I think what another aspect of the women's game has brought is a whole new side of fans that weren't ever exposed to the game, have come to have a love and a passion for it just because these women are exposing them to it. I'm so excited for the future of women's hockey and girls having a place in hockey overall. The fact that there's a dream beyond playing in college or playing at the national team level, I'm so honored to be a part of it. That dream is a reality now. And that's one of the reasons why I named my agency LORA Athletes. LORA actually means dream. And it was something that all these women said in that first season was like, my dreams are coming true. Like, this is finally a dream that's now can be a reality. And that was something that really resonated with me. And I hear that word so often in the sport, that there's no end now. There's no ceiling. The limit does not exist, to quote Mean Girls. There's so much possibility in this sport now. And I just love that these women are embracing it. And you will hear a lot of these veteran women in the PWHL say that they are not doing this for themselves. They are paving the way for the rest of the young women out there. And they have invested in this game so that all those young girls have a place to play and be professionals. And that's the part that I love to be a part of.
Inspiration is such a big part of playing, right? And especially in terms of mentorship, being able to aspire to be something great. And that's what I think the PWHL brings to a lot of young women, is being able to look at something and say, look, I could do that. And especially in a game where, let's be honest, it was a male dominated sport. We were blessed to have Annalise Borgman on. She plays at Cornell, and she played with guys all growing up, and she told us a little bit about the relentlessness of a 13 to 14-year-old boy in the locker room. And it's crazy. What I feel like is so exciting to see is the growth of women's programs across the country and across the world with the globalization of the game itself. But I think that that's the impact that can't really be quantified, is being able to have an inspirational figure to look up to. Growing up, I had so many posters on the wall of people I wanted to be, people I wanted to mold my game after. And it has more implications of growth that people could ever, really pinpoint. So I think that's just amazing. The game itself, you're pretty embedded in it because you have a lot of players. What do you feel like is the most exciting new things that you would like to see within the game? Because it's ever changing every season, all the way from expansion to the overall landscape of the exposure of the women's game. What would you like to see in regards to make it a little bit better?
I think the thing that I love the most with the women's game is how spicy it is and the physical side of it. It took people aback at first. Like, I've attended a lot of games in person, of course, and fan reactions when there's a big hit on the ice is still sort of like, oh my gosh, right? Like, is she okay? And I just want to tell everybody, like, we're okay as women. We can each other, and we can be strong, and we can use our physical presence in our bodies and put that effort in. And that's the side of the game that I love about it. And so I really hope that the league continues to expand that side of it and have a little bit more lenience with some of the infractions that we see happen, because I think that's the side of the game that brings the drama and the excitement and the spiciness. And you'll hear a lot of these women say that they are excited to get into that side of the game. If I sort of take a wider, broader view on this, what I would like to see happen is the NCAA allow the same physicality that we're seeing in the PWHL. And even, I think about the men's game now. My son plays hockey, going into U15 is when you're allowed to start having body contact. I think those same rules need to apply to women as well, so that we can prepare them to get to this professional space and already know how to hit properly, to protect themselves and to play the game in that style. I think it needs to trickle all the way down to the grassroots level. So that's an implementation that I'm hoping the league has some influence on, because I do think it's one of the most exciting pieces of the game that we're seeing today.
Krista, that makes me smile. Annalise said the same thing as you. Literally, she said the same exact thing when we had her on. And just overall, this is just one thing that just observation. You said that the hockey players, guy hockey players specifically, are just non-emotional balls playing on the ice. And we really talked about it a lot in the beginning of the podcast of, hockey players really stepping up this year, like Matthew Tkachuk, really people getting a personality behind them. I know you said it was very important for the girls' game. Obviously, the GM's trading you, but I think for the overall game, staying on Frank's same question, do you think that improving that is going to be, only better for the game?
I do. I think it's better for sport overall. And I think about leagues like the NFL and the NBA and the personality of those players. So much ego, but I love it. I love seeing that. And we all love to hate Matthew Tkachuk, but I love seeing his personality. I love seeing his drive. I love the different competing natures you see between those personalities, both on and off the ice. I think it provides that entertainment value. And I think that's what's been missing from the NHL for so long, is that cookie cutter nature. Like you said, we don't often see those personalities. I sometimes think, like, when we see those off ice interviews that, I'm wondering, like, are these questions planted? Are they told to answer these questions in this way? Because you're not telling me anything. Like, I'm not getting anything out of you. I have no idea what your personality is like. You're just being part of that machine, right? And I've heard some of my own clients say it, well, I don't want to ruffle feathers, right? Because I want to make sure I get in the lineup in the next game, which I totally respect. But there's such an entertainment value to sport. And I think all of these athletes have such unique personalities as a fan of this game, I want to see that come to life. And that's what I love about the women. They're not afraid to do that. I'm really curious to see this season on the NHL side with just some of the walk-in outfits. With those CBA rules being relaxed, like what does that look like? Are you just going to walk in the same suit you've always worn with a beanie on your head? Or are you just going to take things to the next level and really show us what your personality is? That's what I would love to see. And I see the women doing that. It's interesting because a lot of men in my life have commented to me that they wish the women would remove the cages. They say, like, I can't see her face. I want to be able to see her face. And it's something we talk about a lot, but I respect the women and the reasons why they wouldn't want to remove those cages, but I still see their personality shining even behind those cages. So it's definitely part of the game that I love and I want to see grow and expand.
That's interesting as well because, you're part of developing their personal brand as well. And we talk about all the time, hockey is in a great place right now, revenue wise, the NHL. That's also, which we'll get into, is the social media side of things. What is your opinion on social media's role in a player, but also their overall exposure and growth of their brand?
I think it plays a huge role. And I know a lot of athletes are really apprehensive with social media. But what I think it allows us to do is to have a window into the lives of these athletes. And I'm sure you guys have talked about this before, but as fans today, we're rarely dedicated to certain teams. We're now dedicated in following players. My son's a classic example of this. He's 12 years old. He's a huge NFL fan. Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings is his guy. He's the reason why he started playing tackle football. He's the reason why he started as a receiver. Everything this kid owns is Minnesota purple, everything, like Minnesota Vikings, everything. There were trade talks, I think it was at the beginning of last season. This kid was ready to jump ship. Like, didn't matter where Justin Jefferson was going. He was like, cheering for whatever team he goes to, Mom. And I'm like, do you know how much money we've spent on Minnesota Vikings crap? Like, and now you want to totally shift just because this one guy is moving on. So thank God he stayed where he was. But that was just such a classic example to me of the next generation is really following athletes rather than following teams. So that makes social media and personal branding even more important. And these young kids today, and I would just say sports fans in general, they want to know what you're doing as an athlete. What are you eating for breakfast? What does your house look like? Like, what do you do? What kind of Netflix shows do you like to watch? What video games are you playing? Like, it becomes an obsession. We just want to see into the window of these athletes. And I think especially on the side of what did that person do to get to where they are today? And that's one thing that I think social media allows us to do.
So your son's just grilling all over the house, huh? Just on a Sunday. You're familiar.
I'm so familiar. I'm ready myself.
I think that those are just some of the amazing points of what social media is. But, I'm going to kind of be devil's advocate a little bit and ask you, these young kids, I was in that generation growing up where I saw all these kids getting committed to colleges, like Annalise at 14 years old in 7th grade. And I'm a girl who has just made a AAA team and not really sure where I'm going to end up in the next few years. And seeing that is just, for me, it wasn't necessarily discouraging, but when you're going into the game, you're thinking about that person. I don't know how many younger athletes you kind of manage, but would love to hear your advice for the younger generation on that end.
Yeah, I mean, we're all on our own individual journeys, right? And as humans, we all have that competitive nature. Like, we see success happening for someone else. A lot of times we find it hard to be happy for that person and celebrate them. One of the things that I don't think social media does a good job of is portraying reality. It's very curated, as you know, and I would love to see an athlete embody reality on social media. What does a real day in the life look like? How do you really feel after a game? What injury are you really working through and suffering through? And I think when we can share those more real life stories, that captures my heart because that's the relatable stuff, right? That's real, that's raw. And so that's playing that devil advocate role. While I think social media is great, that's the one side that I don't think that it shows. Every successful athlete out there has had those struggles. So I don't want to just see the successes. I also want to see the struggles because I can relate to that. And that's what's real. I hope that answers your question.
That was amazing, Krista.
What immediately came to mind for me.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Krista, where do you see, this landscape of marketing, brand development, younger athletes as well with NIL and just awareness of players getting younger and younger. What's your take on just the next 5 to 10 years of how this whole landscape is going to be changing and how it's going to be affected?
I'm working with a lot younger players now because I think a lot of young girls and their families are realizing this is something, that's possible and a dream and something we need to take seriously. So I'm doing personal brand work for girls as young as 15 years old now. And not necessarily from the perspective of their families wanting to generate revenue for them at this point in their lives, but recognizing that this is a long game. How doing that work today, and while you continue to move on your journey and go to the NCAA level and hopefully the professional level, it's setting you up for success later in your life, like we talked about earlier. So I really think that's going to be a big and prominent part of NIL and developing personal brand is thinking about what the future looks like, not necessarily just focused on the today. But again, going back to how it adds value to you as an athlete. Yes, you have skill and ability and physicality and competitiveness on the ice, but what is it that you do off the ice? Because I think that's just as important. And again, when developing a personal brand, it might not just be about generating revenue off the ice, but what am I doing in the community? How am I giving back? What am I contributing to? And I talked about that NHL player earlier who just wants to be like a support for young people. That's his way of giving back. That's the legacy that he wants to leave. And he's building it while he's relevant in the game because it probably wouldn't happen for him later on in life. So it's almost like grabbing onto the opportunity while it's there so that you can continue to capitalize on that well past retirement. I think mentally too, it puts you in that right headspace of I'm setting myself up for later in life so that I don't go through those dips and downfalls of going from this is what I've always known, being an athlete, to what the heck do I do with my life? I have no direction. So that's one of the things we talk about a lot in our branding workshop is future direction, future focus, that sort of North Star that you're working towards. It's always guiding you.
I have this ongoing conversation with a lot of people. Do you think with the awareness of players with their potential business opportunities and revenue opportunities post playing career, we're going to be able to see players retiring earlier because they're seeing a little bit over the mountain on that this game doesn't just define you, but it's a piece of you and again creates an amazing platform for you. But there's a lot of amazing opportunities post career that they would want to capitalize on while they're still relevant. And, let's be honest, in a game like football, while you're still cognizant and being able to physically be there and be part of it.
Yeah, I could really see that becoming more of a trend. I've seen it with a couple of NHL guys that I've had the opportunity to work with. Tyson Barrie comes to mind. He created a beer brand called Chili Ones and ended up investing more of his time into that and realized that was his passion and announced his retirement a few days ago. So what I thought was funny about that too is he's like, guys, I know a lot of you thought I retired a couple of years ago, but I'm literally officially retiring now.
That was my first reaction. I'm like, listen, didn't he retire a few seasons ago?
So funny. But I spent time with him a couple summers ago on a project that we were doing. And even that summer, he's like, I haven't started skating yet. I realize it's like early August. My heart's not in it yet. Like I'm not ready to go back to the ice. And so I think that when a lot of these athletes find their greater purpose, that might lead them in a different direction. And while that's scary for a lot of athletes, I feel like they should look at it as a great opportunity to really live out their purpose. And so having someone in your corner to help you discover that, I think, is what the next sort of evolution of representation and agents looks like.
Yeah, Krista, that is, I just came across Tyson Barrie this morning. It's so crazy how the world works. Me and Frank talk about that all. Like I came across his Instagram and that post this morning, and I saw that he was an entrepreneur now, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to get Tyson Barrie on the podcast. And I tried to call Frank this morning, but he didn't answer me. It's so surreal to be able to do this and talk with you. Like, you're a pioneer. Like you're paving the way for these girls and other girls who will look up to you to want to become a PWHL agent. It's really cool. And just to, see behind the curtain a little bit, like what was an obstacle, like an obstacle that stands out and how did you get through it?
Oh my gosh, where do I even begin? There's so many little things. Like I said, the journey has not been straight. It's been up and down and all around and all over the place. I think the biggest obstacle for me has been self confidence. Self confidence in following a journey that I never really saw for myself, that I was not educated in. Like this young woman that I met with today going to this prestigious sports business program in the UK. That wasn't an opportunity for me back when I was in school. And so I've just let life take me where it has and gone with the flow. And this is where the flow has landed me in this moment, which I'm super grateful for. But yeah, an obstacle for me has been, I guess, imposter syndrome. That idea of, well, there's other people out there that can do this better than me. So that's probably who my clients should work with. Do I really know what I'm talking about? I question myself all the time, but then I come back to those core values and that authenticity and knowing that if I live from my heart and I'm doing this for the right reasons, the success will be there. And everything that I need to know and learn and uncover will come. And I don't always have the answers, but I'm really honest about that. But I'll always find out for you. And so just leading with that, it's definitely been probably my biggest obstacle is having that confidence in myself that this is something that I can do, especially coming from that tiny little town where, it's wheat fields all around you. You don't know what exists out there. And so having that belief in yourself and knowing that anything's possible, it really is.
No, it's so amazing that you even just referred to that, because our other partner on this podcast, he refers to the imposter syndrome just in regards to a player. And I believe that that's the same case as players as well, right? In anything you do, because as you move up the ranks, your talent speaks for itself. But as you move up, there's always that voice in the back of your mind. You're like, do I belong here? Like, wait, do you guys really know that this is me? Because we're so internal as people. We always look at ourselves and we always know everything about ourselves, right? And we're always self-critical. I believe that there is that point where who you want to become and who you are kind of just organically kind of align. And I think that that's amazing that you brought that up, because an amazing aspect that you bring is sometimes it takes a fresh perspective, not in hockey or not in the sport particularly, because you're not jaded by the experiences of the game. Like if you played, like you're not jaded by the things that you've heard or the things that you're kind of coming in with a fresh perspective of seeing things from a different scope. And I think that that's an amazing aspect that you've brought to the game and the success that you've had to this point.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely bring a fresh perspective, and I've been around the business of the game. I spent a lot of time with the Blackhawks in that organization and learned some of the intricacies there and the politics behind it. And so I've kind of been a part of all of that. But one of the things that I always try to do is surround myself with the right people. So I have a network of people in my circle, in my corner, that, if we need the skills expert guy, I've got that guy. If we need the expert in mental performance, I've got that guy. And so I know what I don't know. Like I'm certain of that. I'm confident in what I don't know, but I have the people that I'm surrounded with that have those answers. And I call upon those people a lot and they give me advice. And I'm so grateful to them that they've become part of my network. And I love that these women have access to that. So a big piece of it for me is wanting to make sure that these women have the same access and opportunities that the men do, even though they're not making millions of dollars yet. So it's something that I'm always want to make sure I'm providing to them, is that opportunity.
Yeah, it's so special. I mean, Frank, I don't know if you had an agent ever before, but like I said, with my agent, like he was my ultimate best friend. I'd call him for I sat through the whole OHL draft on the phone with him and to get almost dead last. And he was there on the phone the whole time. It's awesome. And one thing I'd like to ask, things that you're telling your athletes when it comes to their game. We talked a lot about branding. We talked a lot about, their personal brand, but these athletes, they have to perform to continue to be in that position. So what are some things that you're saying as an agent to, keep them up and going if they're having a bad game or really the mental side of the game?
My approach to it is that I watch every single game. So I watch every single PWHL game. I have clients that will text me 10 minutes after the game is over asking for feedback. So I make sure that I'm on top of it, which I love. But my approach to this game is approaching it from everything that I learned in leadership in business. I've done executive leadership coaching at that level, and I've taken what I've learned in that and brought it to this game. So if I'm coaching a player through a conversation about approaching their coach and how to have that conversation and what kind of like what mental state to be in and how to have what language to use, I'm drawing everything from my business leadership coaching, making sure that they are not using blame language and taking accountability for their role, making sure that they set the right expectations. And I'll often say to them, you are an employee and that is your boss, right? And so look at the relationship from that perspective. If your boss doesn't set you the right expectations for what your role is in this job, how can you be successful? How can you perform? So going in there and asking for those expectations and what it is of you they're looking for, that's the only way you're going to be successful. So yeah, really just drawing in a lot of that business leadership experience to make sure that they're going into those conversations with confidence. And we've seen a lot of success from that. Having that right mindset and one of the things we talk about a lot is not reacting. It's really easy to react in this game, as you both know, when we maybe get news that we weren't expecting to hear. Maybe we're a healthy scratch one night and we don't understand why. It's making sure that we don't react, but making sure we sit with that information and always being the cheerleader. So you are just as valuable on the sidelines as you are while you're on the ice. And so that's something we often talk about a lot is how can you still be valued to this team if you're not physically in your uniform?
And I think that is such a valuable role. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm pretty candid. And I feel like as a player, I needed that. I came from a household where my dad was very hard on me. I think it ended up becoming the be all end all of my hockey career. And I think that it's amazing to see and so refreshing to see a lot of people like yourself and a lot of mentors, even mentors. I mean, I played in a time dating myself, but the overall landscape of the game and the perception of yourself, right? Like there wasn't a lot of outlets to really voice, hey, look, from a mental health side, like I'm not in a great headspace right now. And if you can't rely on your parents and that communication sometimes because parents are parents, to have somebody like you in their life, which is just a non-biased person that is just being able to have a heart-to-heart conversation, not be preachy or not to be overly insensitive or not to have an opinion so much, but it's just there to listen. And I think that's just an invaluable relationship. And I love, again, the core values that you always speak about on what you've built the agency on. There's no surprise that you've had an amazing success, and it's so amazing to see.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Another side that I don't think enough athletes pay attention to is mental performance coaching. I was playing golf the other day and we were talking about like what the percentage of golf, the mental game in golf is. And I was arguing with my friend. I'm like, it's 99% of the game. He's like, but you think only 1% is skill? And I'm like, truly, like, it's probably less than that. Like, it's probably less than 1% skill. If you don't have your mind right in golf, you're toast, right? And so I don't think enough players invest in the mental health side of sport. Like everyone needs a mental performance coach, right? And what I've seen it do to some of my clients in terms of transforming them, not only as an athlete, but as a human being, it blows my mind. So that would be another side, a piece of advice. If you're not working with someone on your mental performance, definitely look at it as something you want to invest in.
Krista, I know we're starting to wrap up here, and it's so amazing and unbelievable, like I said, to have you on this podcast. I'd love to hear what you have on tap for LORA this next coming year, the next few years, and just if it's not LORA, if it's Dan, if it's whatever, let everyone know the lay of the land for you.
What a great question. I feel like I'm still taking a breather from the month of June, where we had like the expansion draft and free agency and the prospect draft, which was probably the most incredible month of my life. Super amazing. I have 21 clients playing in the league going into the season. So I'm at the point where I'm figuring out what scalability looks like and if I want to grow and expand the agency and who I want to bring in. And so I'm being really slow and particular about that. I have a couple people in mind. I've kind of made the decision that I want this to be a female run, owned, operated, focused agency on that side of things. So
damn it.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Damn it. You put my name in the hat, but here it goes. I'm just kidding.
So I've got some really great people that I'm talking to right now to help grow and expand the business. On the brand side of things, just we're cooking up some really fun deals for a lot of our clients, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, like I said, getting really focused on where they want their brand to go and their direction and what their purpose is. And so I'm really excited to see some of that stuff come to life. But I try not to plan too far in advance, honestly. Like I said, my path has not been straight. It's been like this windy mountain, although like I've been flowing through everything. And so I'm just trying to go with the flow, really try to go with the flow. This space has become a lot more competitive in women's hockey. So I am doing a little bit more scouting and prospecting than I've done before. So trying to figure out what that looks like too. But I love that when women just come to us, right? Like, I've heard about you and we want to chat and work together, and that's been amazing. So yeah, my long-winded answer is like going with the flow.
That's awesome. I have just one more question also before we pop off is it's been such a long, amazing journey. What is the most memorable part of it all? Like if you could pinpoint, I know it's a hard question, but it may be a couple things that really along this time were really memorable for you to be like, this is amazing. Like this is exactly where I need to be in my life.
Yeah. I'd say the first moment that comes to mind was the inaugural drafts, and seeing Ella get drafted fourth overall. I cried. Like, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Like, women were emotional. I cried, and that was the moment where I feel like the energy of this league like sucked into my heart, and now it's like got me for life. So that was just a really incredible moment, and just seeing this dream that they've all had for so long come to life, and to just be a small part of that was probably one of the best moments in my life. And the second one that comes to mind was, I bring my son on a lot of my work trips. What I love about it is that the kid has been exposed to all kinds of amazing athletes just through my work over the course of the last few years. He's spent the day with Ryan Nugent Hopkins. Like, the kid is living the dream. And I take him to Montreal to a PWHL game, and we cross paths with Marie-Philippe Poulin in the hallway, and she comes over to us and introduces herself. And I've never seen this kid starstruck before, like he was in front of Marie-Philippe Poulin. Like, could not formulate a sentence, just drooling over her. And that for me was one of the best moments, just seeing a young boy who has been an NHL fan his whole life, plays Chell, like knows all the guys, is just absolutely obsessed with women's hockey. And for me, that was just a huge moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
So I've another thing as well. Advice, and we're big on this platform for the next generation. What is your advice to the next generation coming up on all levels, whether they're playing, whether, and you're a successful businesswoman. What's your advice to them in regards to, the path to follow or what to do for themselves?
I always think when I get asked this question is like, what advice would I want to have been given when I was a kid? And what was missing for me was the belief in what was possible. And like I was talking about earlier, just being from that small place and not being able to see out of the boundaries of this small town and know what existed out there. I didn't have that belief in myself. I didn't have the type of parents that were just drilling into my brain, like, you can do that and you can do that and you can have this dream. And that just wasn't how we were raised. And so my biggest piece of advice is have a look at what you truly intrinsically believe. And you may need to reset some things, and that's okay. But when you have those strong, deep, intrinsic beliefs, anything's possible for you. And I'll just leave it as simple as that.
No,
That's
I
awesome.
definitely hear that. And I'm a kid, and still now, it's there's always times where you doubt yourself, and you just need to know that you're there. But seriously, just another an amazing episode, and we're so happy that you could join us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
For days about this stuff. So thank you so much.
No, we've been truly blessed with the amazing people that have joined us, but also our mission with our platform is being able to offer knowledge, not so much advice, but I think just being able to grow the community together. And there's so many similarities that bring us all together, whether it's players, whether it's amazing people in the game. Hockey's an amazing sport. we are all part of it in some way, shape, or form. And it's just being able to grow this amazing community we're part of. And I can't thank you enough for joining us and taking the time.
Thank you guys. And I can't thank you guys enough for what you're doing in this sport to bring awareness to all of this knowledge and information. So thanks to both of you for dedicating yourselves to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for Krista Kerth joining the Locker Room Life podcast. Logan, I can't say enough, like we did in the pre-interview, just the knowledge that she was able to share, but more importantly, the community. To me, that was the main aspect that I took away from it. She's continuously building this amazing hockey community. The women that she's representing at such an exciting time for the PWHL, the mixture of great professionals and to see the growth on the women's game and to have her involved, it's amazing.
We can't say enough amazing things about Krista just on her journey and everything she's done. But she's such a standout human, just really open to helping us out, helping whoever out. It really shines through. If you are a part of Laura, a part of Dan, you are really part of her family as well. You're an extension of her. And we really hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, Frankie, this wouldn't be possible. It would just be, we wouldn't be able to do it without our amazing sponsors. Buddy Hockey Club, Best Damn Tape, Cut Shield Hockey, and Bambino Shave Cream.
Buddy, I can't say enough about how amazing it is to have another episode. Be humbled by the fact that people want to, with us, build this amazing community we're a part of. And I know we said it in the pre-interview, but we're just so blessed and thankful for everybody that has joined us, going to join us, and has continuously supported us. So guys, we love you, and we'll see you in the next one.